My name is Mary Rickard. I'm a Tulane graduate. I moved back to New Orleans in 2007. I bought a house in Holy Cross in 2011. It's a new house. It's a global greenhouse, and became very involved in community activities. So a couple of years later, I got very involved with this neighborhood fight against the proposed redevelopment of Holy Cross High School, which they wanted to do high rises. And actually went to City Hall, and basically our objections were dismissed. But then there was no progress. The building was never, there was no renovation of the building. And so I have been even more concerned about the site, having seen photographs of the interior with which some anonymous photographer dropped into a mailbox so that we could see what was happening to the interior. I personally feel that redevelopment of that site is critical to the revitalization of this neighborhood. And if it's turned into a gated community or bachelorette apartments, that it will not contribute to the history or the community in any way. Okay, the history of the neighborhood. The neighborhood started developing about in the 1850s. And with the founding of Holy Cross School, the Ursuline Convent was right beside it. It was torn down to make way for the Industrial Canal, and St. Marie's Church. It has always been sort of a lower middle class neighborhood. We had a lot of Irish and German immigrants, as well as African Americans who lived here. But it's always been very diverse. And it was one of the first places that African Americans could be homeowners. It was devastated when the Industrial Canal burst during Hurricane Katrina, and has had a very slow recovery ever since. Holy Cross has done better because it has higher quality homes, older historic homes. It's a historic district thanks to Holy Cross High School. And the home values have increased tremendously. It's still very diverse, and people love it here because it we have bigger yards. We have wide open access to the levee, which is beautiful for walking, jogging, taking your dog out. We have a very strong sense of community. It's close to downtown, and we want to make it better. It is a historic district. We have a lot of homes that are Victorian and American cottages and shotgun apartments that are really worth restoring. I would like to see more of the older homes restored rather than turning to building new apartments, and to create incentives to do that. Because it is, it's a beautiful neighborhood. We have wonderful trees and open areas, and that would be the desired way to improve the neighborhood. Well, the property has been completely neglected. The roof has been open to the elements most of the time in the past 10 years. So rain just comes freely through, enormous holes. That's damaging the structure itself. The photographs show that school was almost in session when the waters came. So there were still papers lying on the desk. The lockers were still open. It's just like they just evacuated, and it's never been touched since. It's never been cleaned up. It's almost parallel to Charity Hospital, I think, where the brothers wanted to move to another campus, and this was their opportunity. And like Charity Hospital, even though it could have been renovated, and the National Guard did do work on it, they wanted a new building. So, you know, we're looking at a myth that it has to be destroyed because it's beyond redemption, which is not true. It's a beautiful building. It could have many different uses. We turn to Tulane City Center, which is the nonprofit student run arm of Tulane Architecture School, to come up with 3 different designs for the site, and they costed it out. And we could have a park. We could have a park and housing. We could find a way to create income on that site, just as City Park has done. Mm-hmm. City Park uses the golf course. City Park uses the hall to bring in wedding receptions. That's how City Park is free for people, and that's what pays for the botanical gardens. Why can't we create an income source that is not apartments? Besides, I'm not a realtor, but Holy Cross Convent is being turned into apartments. Also, the Olivier Plantation, which is just on the other side of the canal and Bywater. I don't know what that big building is, but I have a feeling they're apartments. Where is the demand for these apartments? I don't see it. I think tourism is what keeps New Orleans alive, and we should look at creating something that would bring tourists down here besides the new Civil Rights Museum you probably already know about, that people are still curious about Katrina, who want to see. And it could be educational. Well, there are a lot of different opinions in the neighborhood, so this is my opinion. But we also, we also need an elementary school in the neighborhood. I think people would like to be able to take their kids to a local school. We talk about job training all the time and creating jobs for the teenagers in the neighborhood, young people in the neighborhood. I think Delgado could do a program here, or even Nunez College in culinary training or building, construction. I mean, we have a lot of projects here. Teach wrought iron, I don't know. But I think the building has lots of other possibilities besides housing. And I would be open to exploring those. I don't think anybody has ever done any research or looked into funding possibilities or partnerships. It was just sold. I don't think we even knew that it was being sold when it was sold. When I moved over here to Lower Ninth Ward, I had never crossed that bridge. I had never even been to Bywater. And many people in New Orleans have not been to the Lower Ninth Ward since Hurricane Katrina. I'm trying to get the Sierra Club to hold their meetings over here because to me, it makes a lot of sense. They're trying to be more diverse and have a younger membership. And we have the Global Green Center here that's accessible. The Holy Cross School has disappeared from people's radar. And The media doesn't help because they tend to highlight crime in this neighborhood, when in fact we have a very low level of crime in this neighborhood. It's quite a bit lower than Bywater and the Lower Garden District. So getting some publicity about the school would really help to highlight how far the neighborhood has come, what it is now, different from what it was 10 years ago or 50 years ago. It would alert many of the Holy Cross alums to what's happening to their school. I know that there's heartfelt opinions about that building. And I know that because I was a freelance writer and wrote about the new campus and heard people talk about how much they had loved the old campus and treasured memories of looking out at the oaks and the river and the standing on, I just, I think that's a big part of our local history. And when I say local, I don't just mean the Lower Ninth Ward. I mean, young men came from all over the city, all over the state, and from Central and South America to go to that college. And just to allow it to deteriorate is a crime. So I think getting some really good coverage, I think it hasn't been, I was only peripherally involved several years ago when we got some media coverage about the Tulane City Center plans. But I think they were poorly presented. And the architects were able to shoot them down, saying that they were financially impossible without even trying to find funding. They said that that they were unaffordable to leave the grounds open. That's one of the most beautiful pieces of real estate in the entire city. And I'm sure if you walked out there, you would agree with me on that. I'm up there twice a day, every day. For me, I don't live right beside the high school. I live a little bit down. But I think almost everybody that lives right around the high school wants to make sure they still have access to the riverfront. They don't want it closed off. They don't want a parking lot. They don't want a lot of renters who don't care about the neighborhood. We want homeowners. It's traditionally been a community of homeowners.